LeBron just shook the NBA. LeBron James did not just walk away from the Los Angeles Lakers. He detonated the entire NBA offseason. After 8 seasons in purple and gold, after 1 championship, after breaking the all-time scoring record under the lights of Los Angeles, after carrying the most famous franchise in basketball through glory, pressure, injuries, drama, and endless expectations, LeBron has finally reached the point where staying in LA no longer makes sense. And that is the part nobody in the league can ignore, because this is not a retirement story. This is not a farewell tour. This is not a legendary player quietly accepting the end. LeBron James is preparing for his 24th NBA season, something no player in league history has ever done, and he is not doing it just to collect applause. He is doing it because he still believes he can win. That changes everything. The Lakers wanted him back. Of course they did. You do not casually lose the greatest scorer in NBA history and act like it means nothing, but wanting LeBron back and building a real championship plan around him are two very different things. And somewhere along the way, LeBron saw the truth before everybody else was ready to say it out loud. Los Angeles had moved on. The franchise had started looking toward a different future, a younger future, a future centered around Luka Dončić, Austin Reeves, and whatever comes after the LeBron era. Anthony Davis was gone. The old partnership was broken. The power structure had shifted. And for the first time in his career, LeBron James was no longer the son that everything revolved around. For most players, that would be understandable. For LeBron, it was a message. He gave the Lakers a title in 2020. He gave them global attention every single night. He gave them credibility when the franchise had been lost. He gave them historic moments, unforgettable playoff runs, and one of the most powerful chapters in modern Lakers history. But now, at 41 years old, LeBron is not asking for nostalgia. He is asking for one more real chance. One more team that believes. One more roster that can survive May and June. One more path to a 5th ring. And that is why the NBA is holding its breath. Because the second LeBron leaves Los Angeles, every serious contender has to ask the same dangerous question: can we get him? Golden State is already circling. The idea of LeBron James and Stephen Curry sharing the same court, wearing the same jersey, chasing one final championship together, sounds almost unreal. These two defined an entire generation as rivals. 4 NBA finals, countless battles, legacy debates that split fans for years. And now, suddenly, the impossible might become the biggest story in basketball. But Cleveland is still there too. The hometown, the beginning, the place where LeBron became a legend, left as a villain, returned as a hero, and delivered the greatest championship moment that city has ever seen. If Golden State offers him the brightest stage, Cleveland offers him the deepest emotion. A final return home would not just be a basketball move, it would be history folding back on itself. That is what makes this decision so powerful. LeBron is not simply choosing a team, he is choosing the final image of his career. Does he want to stand beside Curry in the Bay Area and chase one last super team run? Does he want to return to Ohio and close the circle where everything began? Or is there a mystery team waiting in the shadows, ready to change the entire league overnight? Nobody knows yet. But one thing is clear, LeBron James is done being part of somebody else's timeline. If the Lakers are building for tomorrow, LeBron is chasing right now. If Los Angeles wants to turn the page, LeBron is ready to write the final chapter somewhere else. And that chapter could be the most dramatic one yet. So before we go deeper, tell me where you are watching from right now. Are you watching from Los Angeles, Cleveland, the Bay Area, or somewhere else? If you believe LeBron should team up with Steph Curry, comment 1. If you believe he should return home to Cleveland, comment 2. And if you want more NBA drama, trade rumors, and behind-the-scenes stories like this, make sure you subscribe, because this LeBron story is only getting started. Why LeBron finally walked away? For years, LeBron James was not just a player in Los Angeles. He was the plan. Every decision, every trade rumor, every roster change, every national TV debate, every ounce of pressure around the Lakers came back to one question: does this help LeBron win another championship? That is how it had always been with him. Cleveland did it. Miami did it. Cleveland did it again. And when he arrived in Los Angeles, the Lakers eventually did it too. They traded for Anthony Davis. They pushed their chips in. They built a championship roster around 2 superstars. And in 2020, inside the strangest basketball environment anyone had ever seen, LeBron delivered. No crowd, no home court, no normal rhythm. Just pressure, isolation, discipline, and a title that put the Lakers back on top of the NBA world. That should have created security. Instead, it became the peak. Because after that championship, the Lakers never truly found the same balance again. The supporting cast changed. Injuries kept interrupting the season. Anthony Davis was in and out of the lineup. The front office kept searching for the right formula, but every move seemed to create another problem. Some years they had star power but not enough shooting. Other years they had names but not enough chemistry. The Lakers were always interesting, always dangerous, always on television, but not always built like a real champion. And LeBron noticed. He noticed when the roster around him kept shifting. He noticed when the organization talked about winning now but acted like it was protecting tomorrow. He noticed when every mistake became his responsibility, but every future move was no longer built around his timeline. For a younger star, that might have been normal. For LeBron, it was different, because time is the one opponent he cannot dominate forever. At 41 years old, LeBron does not have 5 seasons to wait for a front office to figure it out. He does not have endless training camps to test chemistry. He does not have the luxury of wasting a year just because a franchise wants flexibility. Every season now is precious. Every playoff run might be the last real one. Every roster decision either brings him closer to a 5th ring or pushes him further away from it. That is why the Lakers shift hurt more than people understand. It was not one single insult. It was not one dramatic argument. It was not LeBron storming out because of ego. It was a long series of signals that all pointed in the same direction. The Lakers still respected him, but they were no longer moving like a team desperate to maximize him. They still wanted his greatness, but they were no longer building everything around it. And in the NBA, stars can feel the difference. There is a difference between being appreciated and being prioritized. There is a difference between being celebrated and being protected. There is a difference between a franchise saying, "We want you back," and a franchise proving, "We are still willing to risk everything to win with you." LeBron heard the first message. He did not see enough of the second. That is why this decision became almost inevitable. The moment Los Angeles started planning for a future that did not fully revolve around him, LeBron had to ask himself the hardest question of his career: do I stay loyal to a franchise that is already preparing for life after me, or do I take control of my final chapter before it is too late? The answer shook the league, because LeBron James is not interested in being a ceremonial legend. He is not ready to sit in the corner while a younger timeline grows around him. He is not looking for a farewell tour where opposing arenas give him standing ovations while his team fights for a play-in spot. That is not who he is. That has never been who he is. He wants stakes. He wants June. He wants another ring. And if the Lakers could no longer give him the clearest path to that, then leaving was not betrayal. It was survival. That is what makes this story so dangerous for Los Angeles. Because if LeBron leaves and wins somewhere else, every decision the Lakers made will be judged under a brighter, harsher light. Every missed opportunity will be replayed. Every roster mistake will look bigger. Every quiet moment where they failed to fully commit will become part of the evidence. For LeBron, this is about legacy. For the Lakers, this is about identity. They are no longer the team LeBron saved. They are now the team that has to prove they can move forward without him. And that is a much heavier burden than people think. Because when a player like LeBron walks away, he does not just leave an empty roster spot. He leaves a question that follows you everywhere. Did you let the ending happen too soon? The Luka Dončić shift. The moment Luka Dončić became the center of the Lakers' future, everything changed. Not because Luka did anything wrong. He is younger, brilliant, marketable, and one of the most dangerous offensive players in the NBA. From a long-term view, building around him makes sense. But that was the problem. LeBron James was not playing for the next decade. He was playing for right now. Once Luka arrived, the Lakers' priorities shifted. The conversation was no longer only about giving LeBron one more championship roster. It became about building the next Lakers era around Luka, Austin Reeves, and a younger timeline. LeBron could feel that change. For most of his career, every franchise built around his window. In Cleveland, Miami, Cleveland again, and early in Los Angeles, LeBron was the center of the basketball universe. But now, the Lakers had a new gravitational force. Luka needed the ball. Luka needed spacing. Luka needed a roster built for his style, and LeBron became something unfamiliar, a legendary piece beside the future. He still produced. He still controlled games. He still showed flashes of greatness that made age look irrelevant, but the offense was different. The ball was not always in his hands. The organization's patience was no longer for him. It was for Luka. That is when the emotional shift became impossible to ignore. Luka's timeline could survive a lost season. LeBron's could not. Luka's future was opening. LeBron's final window was closing. The Lakers were trying to balance both. But in the NBA, two timelines rarely survive together for long. LeBron understood the message. The franchise was not disrespecting him publicly, but the direction had changed privately. He was still respected, still celebrated, still valuable, but he was no longer the main plan. And for a player chasing one last championship, that was enough to make him look toward the door. The Anthony Davis trade changed everything. If one moment truly cracked the relationship between LeBron and the Lakers, it was the Anthony Davis trade. Davis was not just another teammate. He was LeBron's championship partner. He was the player the Lakers acquired to prove they were all in. Together, LeBron and Davis gave Los Angeles the 2020 title, restored the franchise's power, and created one of the most successful superstar duos of the modern era. So when Davis was moved, it was more than a basketball transaction. It was the end of the LeBron championship project. The trade signaled that the Lakers were no longer protecting the formula that had already worked. They were moving into a new era. Luka Dončić became the future. Austin Reeves became a major part of the next foundation. Davis, the co-star who stood next to LeBron at the top, was suddenly gone. For LeBron, the hardest part was not only losing Davis, it was what the move represented. When a franchise makes a decision that big without fully centering its greatest player, trust changes. LeBron understands the NBA as a business. He knows teams must think about the future, but he also knows what respect looks like after 2 decades of carrying franchises. The message was clear. The Lakers were no longer operating entirely around him. And once that became clear, everything after, it felt different. Every rumor carried more weight. Every contract conversation sounded colder. Every report about the Lakers' future seemed to point away from LeBron and toward a younger plan. Without Davis, the Lakers lost the identity that made them champions. They gained Luka's brilliance, but they also lost the defensive anchor and emotional partner LeBron trusted most. When injuries hit and the playoff road got harder, LeBron was left carrying weight again. That is when the truth became obvious. The Lakers were not completely broken. They were just no longer built for LeBron. And once a team is no longer built for you, the only real choice is whether to accept the new role or write your own ending somewhere else. LeBron chose the ending. Golden State enters the race. The Golden State Warriors had been waiting for this moment. They knew LeBron's relationship with the Lakers had to weaken before anything became possible. Now that the door had opened, Golden State moved from fantasy to serious threat. And the reason is obvious. LeBron James and Stephen Curry on the same team would instantly become the biggest story in basketball. These two defined an era as rival. They battled in finals, split fan bases, shaped legacy debates, and carried the NBA through one of its most dramatic periods. Now they might become teammates. That possibility alone is enough to shake the league. But this is not only about headlines. The basketball fit is real. Curry's shooting creates space no defense can ignore. LeBron's passing and power punish every mistake, put them together, and defenders face an impossible choice. Help on LeBron and leave Curry, or stay attached to Curry and let LeBron attack. There is no safe answer. For LeBron, Golden State offers something the Lakers no longer could: urgency. The Warriors are not building for 5 years from now. Steph Curry's window is closing too. Draymond Green's window is closing. The franchise knows this may be one final swing. That matches LeBron's timeline perfect. He does not need a slow rebuild. He does not need promises. He needs a team willing to chase a championship immediately. Golden State can offer that. They have experience, a championship culture, a proven coach, and a superstar who understands the pressure of June, but it is still risky. The Warriors are older, the salary situation is complicated, the roster would need depth, size, defense, and health. A Curry-LeBron duo would be spectacular, but spectacle alone does not win playoff series. Still, Golden State is dangerous because it offers LeBron something powerful, a final stage worthy of his legacy. Not quiet, not safe, not sentimental. Explosive. The Curry and LeBron dream. Stephen Curry and LeBron James wearing the same jersey still sounds unreal. For years, they were the faces of opposite basketball worlds. LeBron was power, control, vision, and force. Curry was movement, shooting, space, and revolution. One attacked defenses until they broke, the other stretched them until they disappeared. Together, they could create one of the smartest offenses the NBA has ever seen. LeBron with the ball at the top, Curry flying off screens, Draymond reading the defense, defenders trapped between the greatest passer of his generation and the greatest shooter ever. Every possession would become a puzzle with no easy solution. That is why fans cannot stop imagining it. But the dream is not only tactical, it is emotional. LeBron and Curry spent years as rivals. Their finals battles shaped the league. Fans argued over them, defended them, criticized them, and built entire legacy debates around them. For those two to join forces now would feel like the final twist in a basketball movie. The rivalry would become a partnership. The past would become fuel, and every game would become must-watch television. Still, the dream has real danger. Golden State would be old by championship standards. The Western Conference is younger, faster, and deeper. Teams like Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and Denver would not care about names. They would attack legs, depth, defense, and fatigue. The Warriors would need more than stars. They would need role players who can defend, shoot, and survive playoff pressure. They would need health. They would need discipline. They would need LeBron and Curry to be brilliant without asking them to be superhuman every night. But if it works, the league has a problem because LeBron does not need to be young LeBron anymore. He only needs to be the second brain, the power creator, the playoff decision maker, and the closer when matchups slow down. Curry does not need to carry everything alone. He only needs 1 inch of space, and LeBron can create that inch better than almost anyone. That is why this pairing is so dangerous. It is not perfect. It is not young, but it is smart, experienced, and fearless. And sometimes, in the playoffs, that is enough to scare everyone. The problems Golden State must solve. Before anyone crowns Golden State, the Warriors still have serious problems to solve. The first is money. Bringing in LeBron would require financial sacrifice, creativity, and probably a major pay cut from him. At this point, LeBron cares more about winning than salary, but money still represents respect. If Golden State asks him to sacrifice, they must prove the roster can truly compete for a title. The second issue is depth. Curry, LeBron, and Draymond would be a legendary trio, but they cannot win alone. The Warriors would still need size, defense, shooting, athleticism, and reliable role player. The modern NBA is too fast and too deep for a top-heavy roster to survive easily. The third issue is age. LeBron is entering a stage of his career no superstar has ever fully mastered. Curry is still elite, but he has carried years of pressure. Draymond has played countless physical playoff battles. This would not be a young super team rising together. It would be a veteran group racing against time. That creates urgency, but also danger. One injury could change everything. One bad matchup could expose them. One exhausted fourth quarter in May could undo months of hype. The fourth issue is identity. Golden State has been Curry's kingdom for more than a decade. If LeBron arrives, the spotlight changes instantly. Every late game shot becomes a debate. Every loss becomes a national story. Every rotation decision becomes drama. Steve Kerr would not just be coaching basketball, he would be managing legacy. That is a difficult job, even for a championship coach. The final issue is expectation. If LeBron joins the Warriors, there is no good season. There is only championship or disappointment. That is the price of combining two legends this late in their career. So Golden State must answer one question. Can they offer LeBron a real championship path, or only the biggest headline? Because LeBron is not leaving Los Angeles for attention. He already has that. He is not chasing headlines. He is chasing one more ring. If the Warriors can prove the dream is real, they may win the race. If not, Cleveland is still waiting. Cleveland's emotional pull. Golden State can offer LeBron the brightest stage, but Cleveland can offer him home. And for LeBron James, home has always meant something different. Cleveland is where the story began. The Cavaliers drafted him number 1 in 2003, when he was just a kid from Akron carrying impossible expectations. He was supposed to save a franchise, lift a city, and become the future of basketball all at once. Somehow, he did. He made Cleveland relevant, he carried limited rosters deep into the playoffs, he gave the city hope. Then in 2010, he left and everything broke. The decision, the anger, the burned jerseys, the bitterness. It became one of the most painful breakups in sports history, but then he came back. In 2014, LeBron returned to Cleveland and accepted the burden again. 2 years later, he delivered the impossible, a comeback from 3-1 down against the 7-3, when Warriors and the first championship Cleveland had waited decades to celebrate. That is why a final return would be so powerful. It would not just be basketball, it would be closure. LeBron going back to Cleveland would feel like the story completing its circle. The young hero, the villain, the redeemed champion, and now the veteran legend returning one last time. And Cleveland is not only emotional, there is basketball logic too. The Cavaliers have real talent. Donovan Mitchell can score, Evan Mobley can defend and anchor the front court. The roster has already shown it can compete in the East. LeBron would not have to carry everything. He could become the veteran brain, the playoff leader, the wing creator, and the emotional center of the team. But the move would not be simple. The money is difficult. A sign and trade may be needed. Cleveland would have to decide whether the emotional power of LeBron's return is worth the roster and financial pressure. There is also the spotlight. If LeBron returns, the entire league turns toward Cleveland overnight. Every game becomes a story. Every loss becomes a debate. Every playoff moment becomes part of his final legacy. But that is the power Cleveland had. Golden State offers spectacle. Cleveland offers meaning, and sometimes, for LeBron, meaning has mattered more than people expected. The three possible endings. There are three possible endings to this story. The first is LeBron joining Golden State. That would be the loudest ending. LeBron and Curry together would become the biggest show in basketball. The Warriors would become must-watch television overnight. Every game would feel like part of one final championship chase. This path is about ambition. LeBron would be choosing the strongest spectacle, the boldest basketball move, and possibly the best chance to chase a fifth ring beside one of his greatest rivals. But the risk is huge. If the Warriors are too old, too thin, or too fragile, the dream could collapse quickly, and if it fails, the criticism would be brutal. The second ending is LeBron returning to Cleveland. That would be the most emotional ending. It would bring him back to the place where everything started, the city where he was loved, hated, forgiven, and immortalized. A final Cavaliers chapter would not be about headline. It would be about legacy, memory, and closure. But Cleveland must prove it can compete. LeBron is not returning just for nostalgia. He still wants to win. The Cavaliers would need to solve the money, protect the roster, and give him a real playoff path. The third ending is the mystery team. This is the wild card. Miami could call. San Antonio could tempt him with Victor Wembanyama. Another contender could quietly create a path no one sees coming. LeBron has surprised the league before, and nobody should assume his decision is already finished. But any mystery team must offer three things: a real chance to win, a clear role, and a final chapter worthy of his name. That is why this decision is so heavy. In 2010, LeBron had time. In 2014, he had time. In 2018, he had time. Now, he may not have another major move after this. Wherever he goes next could be the final jersey of his career. Golden State offers the spectacle. Cleveland offers the soul. A mystery team offers the shot. And somewhere between those three choices, LeBron James will decide how the final pages of his career are written. The NBA is waiting because LeBron's decisions have always changed the league. This one could change how his entire story is remembered. What this really means for LeBron's legacy, behind every rumor, every debate, and every possible destination, this story comes down to one thing. LeBron James is still fighting time. Not the Lakers, not the Warriors, not Cleveland. Time. For years, people waited for his decline. Every injury became a warning. Every playoff loss became proof for critics. Every season was supposed to be the one where age finally caught him. But LeBron kept showing up, kept producing, and kept forcing the NBA to pay attention. Now, he is not just choosing a team, he is choosing the final image of his career. If he joins Golden State, the message is ambition. LeBron would be choosing one last explosive run with Stephen Curry, turning an old rivalry into a final mission. If he returns to Cleveland, the message is closure. He would finish where everything began, in the city that shaped his story, broke his heart, forgave him, and watched him become immortal. If he chooses a mystery team, the message is freedom. After 23 years, LeBron would prove once again that nobody controls his path but him. For the Lakers, the lesson is clear. You can respect a legend and still lose him if your actions do not match your words. LeBron did not need empty praise. He needed urgency. He needed proof that the organization still wanted to win with him right now. For younger players, the lesson is hunger. Greatness is not only talent, it is standards. LeBron could coast, accept applause, and fade quietly. Instead, he is still chasing something difficult. And for fans, the lesson is respect. Debate the move. Argue about the destination. Pick Golden State, Cleveland, or a surprise team. But after everything LeBron has given basketball, he has earned the right to choose his final road. The Lakers chapter is closed, but the story is not over. If you believe LeBron should chase one last ring with Stephen Curry, comment 1. If you believe he should return home to Cleveland, comment 2. If you think a mystery team will shock the NBA, comment 3. And if you enjoyed this story, subscribe, like, and share it with another NBA fan, because LeBron's next move could become one of the biggest moments in basketball history.